Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Make It Stick Volume 3 Interleaved Practice. This is part of our STEM Skills series, and I am Emma Barnaby, your CNMS Student Success Coach, coming to you from the CNMS Office of Student Success. All right, so a little bit about this series. Make It Stick is a workshop series designed to help STEM students create study plans that work. Each video will go over one strategy for learning material. Try them out, see how you might be able to add some of these strategies to your own study toolkit. You can also make a one on one appointment with me, your student success coach, Emma Barnaby, to discuss how you might implement these skills. Okay, so what is interleaved practice? Interleaved practice is a skill that can be used across many disciplines. Essentially, it means mixing up the way you work. So, interleaved means you're interleaving a bunch of things together. You're interspersing different types of studying to one block of time, basically, for our purposes. So, why does this work? Mixing up the way you practice prepares you better for real life scenarios. So, for instance, if you played basketball, you would practice layups on both sides of the net, right? And alone as well as with defense playing. So, basically, in a game, you're not just shooting layups in one situation coming from one place with no distractions. So, when you practice basketball, sometimes you do drills where you work on only layups, but a lot of the time you're working on different skills together. Someone's defending you while you practice a layup, or you do a scrimmage like you play 5 on 5 or whatever you're doing. You're mixing things up. Sometimes you do one thing for a while and then you try doing it in context, for instance. So, an example of doing this while studying would be maybe focusing for a little while on one type of problem that's giving you trouble. And you should always focus more on trouble areas than just practicing everything, because then you're using your time effectively and not doing things over and over again after you've already mastered it. So, we're looking for places where we can improve because that's going to maximize our learning just overall. But so here's some of the ways we can apply it to our studying. First of all, the idea switch it up is my favorite. So if you've got 2 hours to study, you should switch between subjects every half hour or 40 minutes or something, depending on how long you can focus on one task. This way, you can study 2 to 4 subjects at a time. So, A, you'll stay focused. B, you'll give your brain some processing time. So, even if you really need to focus on like biology and math today, you can kind of go bio, math. That's going to give you just a little bit more, just smaller bursts to focus. A. B, if you have a time constraint, especially if you've got a timer, that can really kind of help you realize that you just got to set the timer and you go until that timer ends. You've got a time constraint, which means you might work more effectively that way. And generally, we can only focus on one task for about 15 to 45 minutes, depending on us and our brains. 25-30 minutes is a good rule of thumb, which is why the Pomodoro method is used by so many people. And the Pomodoro method is when you study for 25 minutes and then take a 5 minute break and then go back to a studying or whatever task you're doing for another 25 minutes and then take a 5 minute break, because giving yourself a little bit of time where your brain can just relax for a second, whether that's watching a funny video or talking to somebody, getting a drink, even just walking up to go to the bathroom, just gives you a little bit of it gives you a little bit of a mental break so that you can go back and focus. Okay. Another strategy is to mix up your problems. So let's say you've got a couple hours and you really want to study for a math test. One thing that can really help you is interspersing those problems all together instead of working on one type of problem at a time. This is good for your brain because it's going to help you learn how to actually recognize the difference between problems in a test situation where the problems are generally not sorted as well as they are in a textbook or on a homework assignment. So you're mixing them together is, again, like I said, it's allowing you to immediately realize what problem is what because you've had a lot of practice just determining what you need to do for each different problem. But it also helps you stay focused, because each problem is asking your brain to do a slightly different task, and you're not following the exact same neural pathway you were following for the last 6 problems. So it's giving you a little bit of time to forget how to do each type of problem so that your brain has to work a little harder while you're studying, which then makes it a lot easier when you actually get to a test situation. And it's also going to cut down your anxiety. So, like I said just a second ago, letting yourself forget a little bit is actually really helpful, which you'll know if you've watched my videos on spaced practice and retrieval practice, the first two videos in this series. So, the point of this is to come back to things after a short break or a long break, maybe that you've got a whole day in between study sessions, and try to get your brain to work hard to recall information after a short period of forgetting. This will strengthen your neural connections. And if you want to get really deep into the science of this, you can look up the idea of the forgetting curve, and I'll put a little bit of information about that in the description box. But letting yourself forget a little bit makes it harder when you come back to it either half an hour later or the next day, but you're still not yet in a situation that's like stressful because you're being asked to do something on a test. So, by making your learning and your studying a little bit harder, you're going to make that test easier for yourself because you're going to build that confidence of like, I haven't studied this since yesterday, but I've studied it every day for 2 weeks or worked on it a little bit every day for 2 weeks. And I know what I'm doing because I have strengthened those connections really, really well. Okay. So thank you for watching. I hope some of these tips will help you. And don't forget that I am a Barnaby student success coach for CNMS. I'm always available to meet with you one on one to help you make a study plan. So to meet with me, just click on the Calendly link in the description box to schedule an appointment. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.